Now, the Arcane lore is nowhere near finished. The latest game in its universe is Arcane Odyssey, which is only on its third main sea. However, the events leading up to the game and the games made prior are very interesting and contain mountains of lore just waiting to be dug up. This video is the longest and most research-intensive video I have ever made, and probably will ever make. So, without further ado, the Arcane lore. Our journey begins before Earth even existed. The universe was formed by two primal forces, chaos and creation. Chaos, the force of magic and destruction, and creation, the life-giving energy, together created the Titans and the gods to watch over the world. These beings are immortal in spirit and continue to exist as souls once their body is destroyed. Both the Titans and the gods have some of the powers of creation and chaos, since they were created by them. The force of chaos is somewhat sentient and can be manifested through evil thought. Chaos is heavily attracted to beings of pure evil. This will be important later. Creation is similar to chaos, but exists as more of a passive force that works slowly throughout the universe. Spirit energy is the force of creation and life, and cannot be directly controlled by humans. For millions of years, Earth was much like our own, with occasional sightings of Greek mythological creatures. Mount Olympus and the gods existed, but few humans were aware of their presence. Everything changed around 100 AD, when Prometheus made a fateful decision. Prometheus decided to gift humans the power of magic instead of fire. This act took place in Athens and marked the beginning of a new era. This is when the Arcane universe branches off of our own. Humans capable of summoning magic circles became known as mages, and their magic was passed down through generations. During this time, some of the gods' most devoted followers were given enchanted objects known as spirit weapons, which allowed them to manipulate their own spirit energy. This gave followers of the gods power over those who did not follow them. In year 1, the year humanity first recorded history due to the discovery of magic, Prometheus' gift sparked an era of incredible change. This era would be known as the Golden Age of Magic. Mages with high spirit energy could live for hundreds of years and wield powerful magic. The decision to give humanity magic was heavily disputed amongst the gods, but ultimately, they decided to see how it would play out. This disagreement, however, created a lasting divide amongst the gods. By around year 50, some humans had significantly increased their magical abilities, using them to establish new kingdoms or to conquer others. The gods, curious and experimental, began bestowing certain humans with experimental curses, granting unique powers and abilities. From years 112 to 227, the world was embroiled in the magic wars. The legendary King Arthur of Camelot emerged as the era's most powerful mage, even befriending gods like Poseidon. However, Arthur's greed led to the War of the Gods, with Prometheus and Zeus clashing in a titanic battle. Zeus, opposed to humans wielding magic, tried to strip them of their powers. Prometheus intervened, leading to a divine conflict that saw many gods and humans perish. King Arthur's greed for more power led him and his companions to march on Mount Olympus. Together with his army, the god Poseidon and other powerful allies, they killed most of the remaining gods. Before killing Prometheus, however, Arthur demanded him to give humans the full power of magic, which he believed the gods were keeping from humanity. Prometheus warned Arthur that it was a terrible idea, and that the world would never be the same again, but Arthur did not care. Prometheus then used all of his remaining power to create the elemental curses, which were large cubes of pure magic energy. They soared out all over the world, and when it was done, Prometheus' mortal body was reduced to ash. This event became known as the Fall of Mount Olympus. Elemental curses were the physical manifestation of magic, and only one was created for each known magic type at the time. When touched, you and the curse would become one. Because of this, curse users can phase their body into whatever magic they joined with, allowing them to be impervious to all physical attacks. These curses were used as an extension of themselves, allowing them to attack much more articulately than magic. Since they are one with the magic they absorb, they also become immortal, unable to die of natural causes, and remain in their physical prime for eternity. When a curse user is killed, their curse shoots out of their body and lands somewhere far away. However, since curse users are immortal, most curses can never be found again unless someone who possesses one is killed by other means. Magic requires a lot more skill and willpower to be performed compared to elemental curses, and drains a lot more energy. Prometheus also created the Grand Fire Curses, the most powerful elemental curses which take on the various forms of Prometheus' own fire, hoping that a human would find them one day and defeat King Arthur. During these times, there was a young boy with curly black hair who longed to use magic but couldn't. This made him feel isolated. One day, while wandering through a distant forest, he discovered a large glowing purple cube. When he tried to touch it, his hands passed through and suddenly exploded in a flash of light. Afterward, he felt strangely powerful. Much later, when bandits attacked his town, he instinctively raised his right arm toward a bandit, draining the man's magic energy until he lay motionless on the ground. The boy realized he could now create light magic circles and summon light. This power, known as the Absorption Curse, allowed him to absorb and use the magic of his enemies indefinitely. 3 years later, in year 1018, the boy, now driven by a hunger for power, traveled the lands, stealing magic from innocent mages. His goal was to master every type of magic. Without an organized government at the time, this was easy, and he became infamous as the magic thief, feared by many. One day, a man with an arm that turned to stone challenged him. The boy's absorption attempt failed, revealing the man wielded the Earth Curse, immune to his magic. After a fierce battle, the boy defeated him using all the magics he had since absorbed. He then gained the Earth Curse. Now residing in a massive tower he constructed, the magic thief delved into the mysteries of magic. As months turned to years and years to decades, the legend faded, and he mastered reviving the dead, undoing curses, and combining their powers, becoming a dark mage with vast knowledge. In the year 1042, the world advanced. There were many more types of magics now, most classified as mutations. Mutations are the name given to magics that turn into a new type as the user grows in power. For example, a fire magic user may learn the ability to use flare magic if they grow exceptionally powerful. Not wanting his research to be interrupted, the magic thief controls himself and resists the urge to steal these newly discovered mutations. When the year 1046 rolls around, the dark mage finally ends his solitude. After leaving his tower, he walks for about 3 hours back to the nearest village. There, he absorbs the magic energy of a flash magic user. Shortly after, a sun magic user. He once again feels the power-hungry lust that once consumed him, and travels the land in search of more. He crosses the sea and comes across a large city known as Dunwich, and at the entrance, he encounters one of the many legends of the time, a man named Theos. Theos was regarded throughout Europe as one of the most powerful mages, some even claiming he was more powerful than King Arthur. The dark mage tried to absorb his magic energy, but it didn't work. Exceptionally powerful mages can resist the power of the absorption curse so long as they have the strength to fight. Theos' magic is so powerful, the dark mage can barely counter him. They battle for hours, eventually destroying the city's front gate. Both mages are exhausted, and Theos retreats deep into the city. The dark mage, frightened by this man's powers, turns the other way. Realizing his weaknesses, he begins to use his dead revival magic to create an army. By the year 1050, he had built a massive undead army, built of not only undead villagers but of undead mages as well. It is this year where he finally gains a name, Arcane, named after one of the rivers of the underworld. Using his powers, he gave some of his undead warriors the ability to use his magics, allowing them to fight for him. He had also gained the abilities of the lightning and explosion curses during this time period. Eventually, he commanded his undead army to attack Dunwich. At the beginning of year 1051, the undead army finally reaches Dunwich, but Theos meets them at the entrance, destroying the army with relative ease. Furious, Arcane decides to attack Dunwich himself. The two legendary mages begin to battle, both at the full strength of their power. They leave a path of destruction in their wake. Arcane was having lost his right leg to the orange and white flames of Theos' phoenix magic. He knew there was no way he was escaping alive. This man was too powerful. Arcane did not want to die. In a desperate attempt to save his life, he used the rest of his strength to combine all the powers he had absorbed, all of his remaining magic energy, and fired at Theos in the form of a gigantic blast. Theos had conjured wings of fire to dodge the massive attack and hit a mountain far behind the man, causing a massive earthquake as the land started to split from the explosion. No one could see anything, and both Arcane and Theos were sent flying by the enormous shockwave that followed. They awake several thousand miles away from each other on small islands. The attack had wiped out a large portion of the human race and caused lasting damage to the entire Earth that would alter it for the next several hundred years. You, the player during Arcane Adventures, was living during this time period as a peasant without magic, and was also killed by the blast. They continued to exist as ash floating on the sea for hundreds of years. Circa year 1500. 500 years and the world's remains have developed villages, cities, and more. Not much remains of the previous existing continents besides small islands and rocks in the sea. Arcane's attack had filled the air and sea with so much magic energy that the natural behaviors of the earth had changed, causing massive tsunamis, huge storms, snow in previously hot places, and other anomalies. Massive parts of the earth are now so malicious and polluted with magic energy that humans cannot live there anymore. This enormous stretch of treacherous sea became known as the Dark Sea. No one knew what had caused the earth to split into islands, and eventually everyone forgot about the old continents. People lived their lives near the sea, using ships to travel from place to place. Because of the vastness of the ocean, pirates and other villains begin to surface. The first ever game in the Arcane universe takes place in the year 1531. This game was called Online Fighting. In our time, the game was created in 2010. It was essentially a fighting game using curses, swords, and guns. There was no lore added into the game, and all lore pertaining to the game was added long after the game broke. Enter the year 1800. A few powerful mages and most survivors from back when the islands were one band together to create the Arcane government. The Arcane government, more commonly known as AG, created laws that were to be abided in all the 7 seas. Some still chose to oppose the AG, despite their vast power. Battles in the 7 seas broke out between pirates and the new government. Around this time period, an unknown event happens in the Old Sea that causes most of its population to be wiped out. Some say that it was chaos, and that some truly evil event must have happened for it to have appeared. The remaining people eventually sail north, as they now believe that the Old Sea is now cursed and dark. They eventually end up at the present-day 7 Seas. This was called the Age of the 7 Seas. Theos, now known as Theos the War Phoenix, sails the seas as a peacekeeper, commanding a massive ship with numerous followers. The Arcane government invited him to join, but he declined, disagreeing with their moral compass. Despite clashing with them on multiple occasions, especially when they harmed innocent villages, Theos does not directly oppose them. His primary mission is to find and annihilate the Dark Mage Arcane, who destroyed his home and family, seeing this as his sole life purpose. Acheron, meanwhile, has been rebuilding his army by resurrecting the corpses of those he killed in his previous attacks. His undead army has grown massive, rumored to be hidden on a large, dark forest island. Acheron travels across different islands, absorbing more curses and mutations, and has become an immortal dark spirit, leaving his physical body behind. Using his dark powers, he can resurrect sunken ships, crew them with undead soldiers, and send them against the AG. These resurrected ships are unsinkable, posing extreme danger to his enemies. Acheron views the Arcane government as a mere nuisance, primarily because their commanders are mostly curse users. Whenever he tries to ambush a commander to absorb their curse, they quickly summon reinforcements, forcing him to retreat due to their overwhelming numbers. Acheron is always strategic in his decisions, fully aware that capture would thwart his ultimate goal of world domination. Therefore, he spends most of his time in hiding, growing stronger, conducting extensive research, and expanding his formidable army. Despite his power and the fear he inspires, Acheron is careful to stay at least a sea away from Theos, aware of the War Phoenix's formidable prowess. As he continues his dark quest, he leaves behind a trail of destruction and chaos, his presence a constant threat to the balance of the world. Acheron's growing strength and the terror he spreads make him a looming shadow over the Arcane government and all who inhabit the seas. Theos, driven by his quest for vengeance and justice, tirelessly searches for Acheron. He believes that annihilating Acheron will not only avenge his fallen family, but also bring peace to a world ravaged by the Dark Mage's ambition. His followers, loyal and numerous, support his cause, ready to fight any danger that comes their way. As Theos and Acheron continue their respective quests, their destinies are intertwined, each step bringing them closer to an inevitable confrontation. The seas tremble under the weight of their power, and the world watches as two of its most formidable beings prepare for a clash that will determine the fate of their world. Meanwhile, one of the AG admirals, Argestis, got into a heated naval battle against one of the commanders of the One-Shot Pirates, the strongest and largest pirate group on the sea, originating some 300 years ago. The One-Shot Pirates are commanded by none other than Arthur the Cursebeard, the same man who had defeated Prometheus almost 2,000 years ago. Argestis is a master of wind and gravity magic, and one of the original founders of the AG. He releases a massive tornado using his full power, easily ripping through the pirate's galleon and continuing for miles over the horizon. The attack ends up causing chaos all over the First Sea, flinging Captain Verdi's frigate up onto a sky island, even hitting Theos' ship and causing it to crash into Newground Island. Realizing he had little influence in the First Sea, Acheron had destroyed a few young mages' minds, causing them to go insane and attack anyone they came across. He had also used his dead revival magic to raise the fallen king Ramses II so that he could have complete control over Siberia. When he was casting the spell to revive the undead warriors of Siberia, however, he had accidentally casted the spell wrong and revived the player. Dead revival magic restored the player to exactly how they looked at the time of their death in the year 1051, yet they have no memory of how they came to be. Strangely enough, Acheron also has little control of the player since they were a mistake. Since the players existed as ash floating on the magic-polluted sea for 800 years, their atoms are rich with magic, allowing them to become stronger faster than all other mages. The player appears out of thin air on Newground Island, where they meet Theos, the War Phoenix. And that's it for part 1, guys. I'm sorry for ending it here, but this video is... If I didn't end it here, this video would go on for quite a bit, alright? This isn't even the halfway point of the script, by the way. This is about 9 pages or 10 pages of script you just heard. There's another like 15 to go. So we're not even at the halfway point. But I don't have the energy to edit all that down yet. So this is where we are right now. And that's kind of it for now. Anyways, that's it. I guess I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.